Welcome out to the spiritual home out here on the west side. So thankful for all you coming out. And what a sunny, nice, wonderful day. Not so hot. This is the Arizona we love. So we're going to start it off with this song called This Is the Day. And hopefully you could join in and rise up and feel the spirit. Yeah.
This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Sing that with me. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is a day to be seized, yeah. A day I can feel my spirit set free. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is a day all my dreams come true. Can feel the Spirit working its way through. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it.
Good morning. This is not a naked place. This is the minister filling it.
This is the minister filling in until I stop talking to people. Sorry about that. I got distracted. My job was to come up here and be ready, but here we are. So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Sue Witter, and I am one of the practitioners here and a ministerial intern. And I just am so grateful that you all took time out of your life, your busy life, to come and spend time with us today and honor the truth of who you are. And so thank you so much. We have a busy day today and a lot of fun things, but we have breaking news first.
Hi, everyone. I'm Olive Philpott.
And I'm Rima Strimple. Welcome to G4G News. In a continuing story today, Gourmets for God bidding is underway. It's the most anticipated fundraiser of the year for the West Valley Center for Spiritual Living and is reported to be the only fundraiser you can eat. Bidding started off fast and furious last week and is expected to continue that way the final days.
Absolutely, Reba. The competition for spots is high this year. Sources have confirmed this is the largest Gourmets for God in West Valley history, with 17 amazing events to bid on. There are so many options for so many different interests that there's a lot of good food to look forward to. Experts have weighed in on the premium events, and they have ranked the top most exciting events to look forward to. Coming in at number 3 is the Mediterranean Vacation. Second is the Green Chef Sampler. And number 1 most exciting event ranked by the experts is the Elf-tastic Holiday Hurrah.
How exciting! Those events sound like so much fun. In fact, looking at this list, all of the events look exciting. I might have to get over there and bid myself.
I was thinking the same thing, Reba. You can bid today in Papke Hall. Come by the tables and take a look at the events that are up for grabs. You will need to register to bid and receive an auction booklet of events. You can also see more information about all of the events in the Gourmets for God section of the website, www.wvcsl.com. Bidding is silent auction style, so make sure to check back next week to ensure your bid is the winner.
Count me in. Now it's time to check in with our meteorologist, Okra Winfrey, for this week's weather forecast. Looks like the weather is going to give us some surprises this week, right, Orca?
Absolutely, Reba. This is Okra Winfrey writing to you or talking to you from it's a fair and beautiful day out. Wouldn't you say? There's just a shifting of weather patterns over the next few days. As you can see, scattered clouds are current, and the system of thunderclouds coming from the north, bringing with it thunder clashes of people trying to avoid the bidding. Keep those umbrellas handy over the next few days. There's an atmospheric river passing through from the west and could cause microbursts of excitement over at the bidding tables, especially in the Peoria area. Let's go to the Doppler radar to take a look at that system. As you can see, the cold fronts are moving in right now with some advisory for Thursday. Backing winds may cause some trouble with your commute to the bidding tables, but just a gust front will clear that up, and it'll be clear skies for the auction. That front moves out by the weekend, and it's a sunny day. I'm really excited to get back to the final day of bidding. Back to you, Reba and Oprah. That Gourmet for God sounds like a lot of fun, actually. I can't wait. Back to you guys now.
It's a really great fundraiser, Orca, as long as the thunderstorms hold out long enough to let the bids pour in before the rain does. Get out there and bid early for your best chance at securing your spot. Check your calendars before placing your bids to be sure to commit to the date when you bid. Don't forget to bid on separate lines for your spouse or friend to join you. The winning spots will go to the highest individual bids only. There are events for every budget, so there's no excuse not to check it out. All winning bids are financially binding. Bidding ends Sunday, October 15th.
Wow, it's really flying by, Reba.
Yes.
Thank you, folks, for joining us for this morning's edition of G4G News. This is Olive Philpott.
And Reba Strimple signing off.
See you next week. And thank you, Okra. See you next week, and remember to eat well, be well, and live joyfully.
And it's the only news desk that disassembles itself. Oh, my goodness. We certainly know how to have fun. All right, Kay, where are you, Kay? Come on up and give us a couple of announcements here.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning. I am here to announce our West Valley Wellness Expo that is going to take place on Saturday, October 21st here, and it will be from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can buy tickets at the door for $5, or you can go online to p83wellness.com, and that is, it should be in your bulletin, but there'll be announcement. It's actually posted out at home space. During the Wellness Expo, we're going to have demonstrations of Reiki, and I'm going to be doing Qigong, and there'll be a variety of different wellness programs that will be available to demonstrate. Every hour on the hour, there will be a 15-minute demonstration of some activity that you can participate in. So there's going to be free classes. I believe we're having a juice bar there outside, and there'll be sound healing, massage, and just a whole, a bunch of various wellness things. And then in November 7th, I think it's a Tuesday. It's in the announcements. Oh, thank you. I'm going to be doing an intro to Qigong class starting on November 7th from 6 to 7 p.m. here. So there'll be more information to come. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And then in addition to that, on October 28th and 29th, I don't know if any of you are familiar with Reverend and Angelina, but if you have not experienced them, you really need to come and do so. They are quite a fun pair of song and a flute workshop and all kinds of comedy. So they'll be here on the 28th, and then we'll be doing the service 28th in the evening. Kay, do you know what time? Saturday the 28th at 6 o'clock. So it will be musical comedy, and they are really a hoot. You should have a lot of fun. And then the 29th, they'll be here for Dress Up Sunday, so be sure to come. That's Halloween weekend, so be sure to come in your finest Halloween regalia. And look for more fun that Sunday as well, I believe, including a flute workshop after service. Is that it?
Armand and Angelina will be, yes.
Yeah. So Armand and Angelina will be doing a flute workshop after service. And yeah, it really is. They're great fun. No matter what they do, it's kind of hard to be in their presence and not just laugh and carry on.
America's Got Talent.
Yeah, they're really just a treat. So please come and enjoy that. And with that, I think it's time to just take a deep breath. Oh no, we have a vision statement. If I read the list, I've only been doing this for 15 years. So Reverend Susan is the practitioner for today, and our vision statement is, if you'll read it with me, we are a loving, joy-filled community honoring the many paths to God as we learn and live the Science of Mind principles. And so it is. And all announcements are in your bulletin. So now let's just take a moment and go within.
So just take a deep breath as we go within.
I will make a quiet place within my heart, and I will wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
will make a quiet place within my mind, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know
I will make a quiet place within my life,
and I will wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord.
I will make a quiet place.
I invite you to take in a deep breath, the breath of life, the breath of God. And as you exhale, release everything that brought you to this moment. I invite those of you that are at home to join us in this affirmative prayer. I recognize right here and now that God is all there is, that infinite divine expression, God, Spirit, absolute perfection, the one, the capital T, truth, love and law, God expressing. And I unify myself with this one divine expression. I unify knowing that God is expressing in me, as me, through every fiber of my being. And I realize right here, right now, it is my choice. I choose to move forward in life. I choose to be whole, healthy, and complete. I choose to be joy-filled, full of love and ease and grace and peacefulness. And it is with that choice I move to each level of expression. I totally thank the unknown for this absolute divine expression. I am grateful for the ever-loving presence that I call God. I realize that this is my choice today. With gratitude in my heart, I say thank you, Mother, Father, God. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And bye-bye. And together we say, and so it is. For those of you in the foundation class, that was directed for you. Well done. Because we love you. So today's reading, I chose the Apostles' Creed. I believe that the source of creation is the incomprehensible mystery radiating through the cosmos as spiritual intelligence, absolute love, infallible beauty. I believe that human beings are carriers of consciousness and agents of evolution. I believe that the source from which we come is alive in us as our breath. As we speak, as we sing and breathe, we release the glory of the cosmos into the world. I believe that the source from which we come is alive in us. And I believe, I just read that line. I believe that the universe is unfolding through me, and that is through our being, that it is becoming self-aware. I believe that nature, our mother, has the answer to all our questions. I believe that the greatest challenge for humans is to free ourselves from religious tappings and cultural constraints that perpetuate our powerlessness and depend on external forces. I believe that the bliss we are seeking erupts spontaneously when we are faithful to our soul's mission. I believe that healing the wounds of the earth and its people is a holy act. In itself, it heals us. I believe that our worldviews create the world we experience. And as we alter them, we alter our lives and the world entire. I believe. Do you? Take a minute to think about that.
Climb every mountain, search high and low, follow every byway, every path you know. Climb every mountain, ford every stream, follow every rainbow, till you find your dream, a dream that will need all the love you can give. Every day of your life, for as long as you live, climb every mountain, ford every stream, follow every rainbow, till you find your dream.
I just think you need more opportunities like that, Miss Kathy. That was spectacular. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Karen Rice. I'm happy to see everybody sitting in here today. It must be dining with the dudes, because I see a dude here. I see the dude that comes to eat. So welcome. It's wonderful to see you guys. Hi, Lulu. We have so much going on, as you can hear. I was thinking as they were giving all those announcements that we were looking for a way to, about a year ago, the board, Julie came to be the board president, and in our early meetings we were talking about how do we get the life back? How do we restore the energy that seems to have been sort of dimmed since the lockdown days? And boy, we have done a really good job. We have so much going on now that I, for one, am bidding on far too many Gourmet for God events. So help me, outbid me. It'd be lovely. It'll be good for the center, probably be good for me. But what a fun bidding war it is. It's one of my favorite times of the year. The title of my message this morning is The Peak of the Climb. And good choice for the music. I really appreciate how well that tied in. And the reading was like right out of what I'm about to say. You're going to get a kick out of it, Reverend Susan. So we're not talking about climbing, mountain climbing, but we're talking about the spiritual reference to the way that we rise in consciousness, when we dedicate ourselves to a spiritual path, when we look for that opportunity to grow or to deepen in those spiritual ways that make a difference in our life. We're looking to have a better understanding of spiritual ideas so that we can apply them in our lives. And then what we say that is that we can witness our own growth or our spiritual maturity, that idea of reaching a peak, when we have practiced enough to call on those skills and use them when life gets a little wonky. So, I know some of us are overachievers. Some of us like to be really extra good at everything we do. Some of us are really go-getters. And yet, in terms of spiritual growth, I hope that you won't just strive toward perfection. We teach in the foundation class and our other classes as well that there are these stages of consciousness that have been outlined by Michael Beckwith, a religious science minister who's sort of famous now that he went on Oprah. That was hysterical. That was hysterical. And then it was making me laugh because Kendra kept calling her Orca. I was like, no, it's okra. It's okra. It's so darn funny. But then between the two, it was, you had us laughing. I laugh every Sunday now. You guys are great. Who does all the who is the creativity in that? Did you write the script? Okra Winfrey. That was hysterical. We love that. Whew, I have a cord crawling down my back. It's creepy. Might need to do something about that. So you get to decide if you want to be a perfectionist because you like to excel in all those other areas of your life. You can do that too. It is certainly up to you. But I don't think life was here for us to perfect it. I don't think we are here as human beings on this planet with so many growing bumps that we encounter along the way. Because it's those bumps, those ways we rub each other wrong, that then smooth us out to help us find a kinder, more loving way to show up and to live our own lives. And we learn those lessons from each other. I love that line in the Course in Miracles that says, we're never healed alone, that we need each other for that deep work like that. So the problem with being a perfectionist or with believing that you're on a spiritual path so that you might achieve attainment while you're here in the flesh on this earthly journey, the problem with that is that you may start to miss some of the other things that happen that are only earthly pleasures. And I like to remind people that it's not a straight up journey anyhow. It's like we're moving around all the time in the different kingdoms and the different stages of growth and having different experiences and learning new lessons or peeling other layers of the onion down. And the problem with that perfectionist attitude is we begin to live in a place where we think we always need to be a little bit better than we are. And then we lead this life of feeling like we always need to improve. And we are hard on ourselves when we don't seem to have made a connection that feels kind and loving. Or we're hard, if we can't have the courage to do this self-reflection, we then project out and we're hard on the other people that we feel have disappointed us. So that idea of striving for perfection you're going to be defeated immediately because life is not about that. And another problem that comes with wanting to be so perfect is that you begin to develop an attitude of not enough. It reflects some idea that you're just not good enough the way you are. And in spiritual ideas, we speak to that. We call it enoughness. And it will spill into every element of your life, in your prosperity, in your relationships, in your friendships. You'll just see that it will, and even in your health. So there comes a point where, as we're developing along the way, where we really want to take time to embody that essence of completeness and wholeness is already given us, and our job is just to readjust the way we evaluate those life lessons or experiences that we go through. Because we don't want to, if you have a need to improve all the time, or you have a sense of not enough in any way in your life, then you are carrying with you a vibration, an energetic in the way you show up in life that reflects it might be a hidden belief, and you might actually know you have this belief, but it reflects a lack and a more limited experience in every way. So to reach a peak, the peak of the climb implies that we've found a loftier view. And that does sound like a satisfying achievement for sure, especially if you know you've done the work, you've put in your time, you've experienced some higher vistas, you've had time at the summit, and those are all worthy goals. But let me read to you the passage from Dr. Ernest Holmes, from which I took the title of this message. In his book, How to Change Your Life, Dr. Holmes said this, sort of an interesting twist. We stand at the peak of the evolutionary climb. We stand at the peak right now. We're at the peak as far as we have come in this collective endeavor of expanding human consciousness. We are there together right now. We have arrived at this place in time. But there's always more. So he goes on to say, once you have realized where you stand now, from now on, from this point on, we ascend because we have chosen to do so. Right? So we're all individual here. We all get to make our own decisions. But right now, you are standing at the peak of your own growth. You are standing at your own, we call it the edge of growth sometimes. You know, everything you've experienced in your life has brought you to this moment, but there's more. There's always more, or we wouldn't be here. And so that idea that we can choose to that loftier view is so empowering. It so perfectly aligns to what Reverend Susan was reading in what a great, you have to show me that book later. I want to see that book you read from. That was a really good rendition of that. What's that prayer? The Apostles' Creed, yeah. So wherever you are in your own advancement, you got yourself there, and you can advance even further if you choose to in the future. Where you go from here is up to you. So, we just keep moving our feet. Holmes said that a lot. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Keep on keeping on, he used to say. Now I think we see that on big truck rigs. Isn't that right? They're quoting Dr. Holmes. Imagine the next time you see that. You can hear it as affirmation from this teaching. It's true for our individual lives that we are where we are, but it is also true of the collective consciousness of all of humanity. And perfection is not our ultimate goal. It's like that idea of the horizon. You never reach the horizon, right? Wherever you stand and you look out, I notice that I have trouble. I might be in a really elevated mountainy place. We used to hike. We lived in the foothills in Southern California. We lived right up against the mountains in Glendora, and we could hike some of those paths, and we would go up there, and the view was just incredible. But I have trouble seeing the horizon because I'm so struck by the difference in the view itself. Now, if I go to the ocean, it's easy to see the horizon at the ocean because it makes a very clear line off in the distance, right? You can see the water and then you can see the sky, and it looks like a straight line, except when you start looking around you, you get this impression that it's not a straight line. It's actually a bit curved, but it's hard for us to perceive it that way. But if I were to get on a boat at the shore and the boat took me out to sea, I would still see that line, except that it's changing. It's actually a different horizon that we're looking at as we move. And if you kept going long enough, eventually you would see land in the distance. So we get this idea that that's just how life is. Where you stand gives you a perspective, but there's always more beyond what we see, that it looks like that line that might be a marker somehow. So we stand at the peak. Every step is an advancement, but it's a journey without distance. There's a fabulous fairly well-known quote. I think somebody actually wrote a book by that title. The journey, this is A Course in Miracles, the journey to God is merely the reawakening of the knowledge of where you are always and what you are forever. It is a journey without distance to a goal that has never changed. And this is the very page where I find that passage that you hear me say so often, that you can't be told what truth is, that the truth will dawn upon you of itself. It will be revealed to you. And sometimes it feels like those tiny increments, but the truth is always revealing itself to us. So we rise in consciousness, but we don't do that through the practice of perfectionism. In fact, those people who are more dedicated to doing things really, really well, they don't, it's not that they miss the mark, it's that they miss the beauty of the journey. And they also miss other possibilities other than what we're looking at and sort of coercing into ourselves into understanding in a deeper way, or being able to report back that we understand this if it's necessary, as in classwork, for instance. The practice of perfectionism, what we know about perfectionism is that it thrives on the energy of not enough, or of wanting to do better. And therefore, it is existing and emanating a vibration, an energetic within us that is less than it could be. You could be coming from a higher vibration. So here's what we know. This is so interesting to me. I read this quite a while ago. Architects that graduate from college and they had a B average while they were studying are more creative than all the architects that graduate with A's. And the reason they believe that that happens is because of how willful we are when we're trying to get the good grade, how we will do whatever it takes to succeed, because that is in that moment, that is our idea of success. And that kind of determination feeds on very specific accomplishments, and thereby, as I mentioned earlier, we miss the other stuff that's out there. We miss the way that our mind can connect to the divine mind, and we can have a moment of oneness, and God can reveal to us this plethora of possibilities that we would otherwise miss if we're just depending on whatever it is we're studying or whatever it is we're able to research and pull from data. So the message this morning is not about ascending or progressing or achieving anything. What I want to focus on this morning is really this idea that life is always in this process of becoming, and so are we. This universe is constantly in a state of becoming, not arriving anywhere. We will, you can have moments of enlightenment, but you don't get so enlightened that you don't have to, that you don't still stub your toe sometimes when you're not paying attention, right? You live in a human body, you have human experiences. So we are always and forever becoming. And that for me just lightens my load so much. It helps me be more kind to myself, because I can dip into that perfectionistic desire very easily. The New Thought Dictionary says that it is the nature of life to forever unfold into higher and higher expressions of being. Gosh, I think we know that even in the way that we deepen in relationships. You know, I was married for 50 years, and what we had at 50 years was not what we had at 40, which was not what we had at 20, which certainly didn't have at 10. At 10, I had a big question mark, like, really? Do I want to be married to you? You know, it's like, you know, you got to get to know each other, and then you redecide, and then you decide that you're going to work things out together, and then something changes in the way we understand love. You know, you can get the romantic, the eros love out of the way, and then you can really have an experience of something magical, something divine. Even those types of love, we can say, would be different vibrational levels indeed. So that's different than setting a goal. That's different than staying married just because you can. Right? That's making a choice and looking for the best result from that decision. So the universe is becoming, and as we begin to wrap our own understanding around what that means, we are more likely to have moments of opening our souls, our hearts, and our minds to say, oh, God, I understand now. Thy will be done, not my will. Thy will. When I open in that way, then there's just this rainbow of possibilities that do not exist when I am just striving to do well. God's will requires an element of surrender on our part, but I promise that God always has a greater plan. There's always something bigger than we have yet to be able to imagine, because we are standing at a peak where we are right now. A B average implies you have a little more room to breathe, and that you're willing to surrender into what could be something even more magnificent than you might do on your own. So I can achieve really great things. I have shown that to myself. I have demonstrated that to myself again and again. I can do great things. But when I team up with other people, we can do even greater things, because we open ourselves to even more possibilities, sort of like a good potluck, where there are lots of, oh, somebody's hungry. That was such a good response. Thank you. And what I know is that beyond what I can do and beyond what we can do, when we surrender to that which is even greater than we are, and we trust that there is a vision, a high and holy vision that is trying to emerge through us, then everything is amplified in this tremendous way. The greater potential and that higher vibration of how we show up then is revealed through that. So I know these things to be true. I do. I believe it with my whole being. And yet, they still cause me to wonder. Isn't that wonderful? We should always wonder. We should always question. We should always look for new ways to apply old ideas or something we've heard stated many times. I believe that there's always that divine vision that is emerging, and you hear me talk about it often. I really so believe that there is something powerful supporting and perpetuating that higher vibration of existence. And that's where we can start. That's where we can start, just in playing with the idea, the Course in Miracles says, have a tiny space of willingness, just open to a little bit of willingness to ponder such possibilities. Whew, I got something to tell you. Picked up an old book this week that I haven't looked at in a long time, and it doesn't always interest me because it leans on the science side of spirituality, and I find that a little harder to understand. And I love dabbling in the mystical, and the scientific is a little trickier for the way my brain works. But I picked up the book by David Hawkins called Power versus Force. Raise your hand if you remember hearing of that book. Well, just a few of you. Well, now you'll wonder. Now you're going to look deeper. That book was written in, I don't know, I want to say it was probably, I didn't look, but I think it was published or it became trendy when I was in ministerial school, and that may be the only reason I know of it, because it wouldn't have been something I'd have been drawn to. But I bought that book because everybody else was buying it, and I dabbled in it a little bit, but it was kind of hard for me to understand. And I was writing this message, and I kept thinking, it's like, this is about a higher vibration, an energetic way that we show up. And I remember that David Hawkins was involved in some work around that. So it turns out that in the early 1970s, now more of you will relate to this part right here, a group of researchers, psychologists and behaviorists, started doing some pretty intense work with kinesiology. They looked at acupressure, they looked at kinesiology, muscle testing. How many of you know what have done it or know of it? A lot more hands with that. Yeah. So kinesiology was well tested in the early 70s. And what they were looking for, they're looking to sort of understand or to graph how we can pay attention to what strengthens our body and our attitude and what weakens us. What are the things that work for you and what are the things that don't work for you? And sometimes those things vary from person to person. For instance, I met my first kinesiologist who was a acupressurist that was also a childbirth educator. And I was pregnant with my third baby, and I was also a certified childbirth educator at that time. So I had sort of the pick of the crop, I had the cream of the crop I could pick from as to who I would study under. And so I went to this man, and one of the great things that happened in that experience was that he worked with us to help us identify things that we could tolerate and not tolerate. In other words, sometimes a woman will have morning sickness from pregnancy. I never had that. But foods will bother her that she could eat when she's not pregnant, right? So I was specifically interested, and he helped me create a vitamin regimen that was unique to my body. So I was one of those rebels that never took the prescription the doctor gave me. I wanted to do that on my own. I was very well acquainted with the local health food store, and I knew way more about vitamins than most. You know how it is. The doctors aren't, especially at that time, they were not educated in nutrition. Now that has changed. Thankfully, that has changed. But even now, that matters to me. So not only did this through muscle testing. They looked to see, he would put certain vitamins on my belly button. I'm laying on my back, and then he would test me, and I would be weak with anything that I shouldn't be taking at that time, right? So it's really genius, and people use it. I know minister friends that do muscle testing before they make decisions in their life about anything. So I used that to find out what was right for my body, as well as what was right for that child that was growing in my body that had his own physiological body that was separate from mine, right? And so I found the perfect vitamin regimen, and I was very happy to do that. Now, the researchers in the 70s did very prolific work in their research. They were experimenting for the purpose of recognizing the impact of positive and negative emotions and thoughts and attitudes. Now, so you can use this in a number of ways. They studied over 20 years. They studied more than 25,000 individuals. And David Hawkins became involved in those studies, and that's why he wrote this book. Hawkins was already a pretty well-respected psychiatrist, and he had done a lot of research in the psychological realm. He was an author. He had published scientific papers. He worked with Linus Pauling. He had a distinguished life, and he is best known for developing a map of energy fields of consciousness. And Kendra is going to put it up on the screen here for us to see it. So from all their research, all these researches, they reported different vibrational frequencies that they were attempting to measure and to graph. And here's how it turned out after they put all the accumulated research together. What they noticed was the lower vibrations are when we contract our energy. We hold it back. Maybe we're defensive, we're frightened, we're protecting ourselves. It's a contracting energy, but up above 200 or so, which comes at the stage of courage, I'll talk about it in a minute, now we begin to be expansive in the way that our own energy vibrates. And the vibration, we all know this. We all know that the way that we carry ourselves energetically impacts other individuals. So you can be in this grocery store and walk next to somebody that just gives you the heebie-jeebies, or you can also you can walk through it, see a total stranger and feel like you really know that person is like, you have this tenderness in your heart for a total stranger. So that happens at that energetic level that we can't see. So down at the bottom, you see there's shame and guilt and apathy, and those go between the 20 and 50, the range that they have numerically assigned, 20 to 50. And then after that, a little higher than that is fear and anger, which might be a little surprising. Fear and anger is actually a higher vibration than the guilt and the shame. And what they found was that the idea of the fear and the anger is sometimes, not always, sometimes the very incentive that boosts us up to be courageous. Think about it. You get scared of something and you push yourself through it. You're nervous about some kind of a meeting you're about to have, but you jump up to courage, jump out of that fear, or we use the energy of anger to then boost us into that area that they call courage. Courage is right at 200, and everything above that 200 mark now goes into that positive range where it's very expansive. So when I think of Holmes talking about Holmes who had none of this in his life, he recommends, like, let's be open at the top. Let's be open-minded. Let's be open at the top. This is a really beautiful illustration of what that might look like. And then, of course, you get up into the higher vibrations. Love and joy and peace are at the top of this scale. And finally, at 700, it's enlightenment, but the way they define that is the Christ consciousness. So we know we don't stay in that enlightened. It's not a goal. Again, I want to remind you, it's not a goal that we're working toward. And yet, the more I play with these ideas in my own life and recognize my reactions in different everyday experiences, I can then choose a higher vibration. I can see, oh, here I am down here. You know what? I'm going to step it up. And you can use this as a mental image in your mind to feel sort of wooed by spirit, to express at a higher vibrational level. Now, here's an example of how the researchers say it could look in our lives. So I'm going to take you through a scenario, and I want you to imagine you're actually there. But don't tell anybody what your responses are. Okay? It's just for you to know this. So the example they give in the book, Power versus Force. Imagine you have some shopping to do, and you're in an upscale neighborhood. And you're walking from your car toward the building. You see the entrance you're going to go in, but you see there's a person that looks kind of straggly, leaning on the wall, pretty close to that door. And this person is, you assume that this person is, the clothes are tattered and he's not very clean, he or she. And there's a bag on the ground that you assume all their possessions are in. The person appears to be houseless. Your reaction as you spot that and as you're walking toward the door will show up in the range somewhere. So if you are at the low range, if something has happened in your life and you're not feeling very comfortable with yourself or safe, you could easily perceive that person from a perspective of being, you could blame them. Like, well, if that person would just go get a job, they wouldn't be looking like that right now. They wouldn't be interfering with my day right now. So at the very bottom, shame or blame. And then a little more up, and that would be 20 or 30. Then a little higher than that, there's a place where hopelessness and grief kind of meet together. So hopeless, like, oh, what's the world coming to? And grief, it's like, oh, things will never get better. Notice that this is a little higher than just shame and blame, because now we've expanded and we're looking at an issue, not just one individual. And then after that, maybe you're afraid to walk by, or you walk by that person and you put your hand on your wallet while you're walking by that person because they don't look safe to you. Or maybe it makes you angry, like, why does this have to be this way? And then remember that anger and that fear has the potential to boost you up to that courageous point where you are now no longer contracted, separated, right? You separate yourself from other individuals when you have those judgments. And now you are free to continue to rise on that scale. So from courage, we hit neutrality and we move on above that. There's acceptance. Acceptance could be something as simple as, oh, I guess if I knew that person's whole story, I could be more understanding. That's the beginning of acceptance. And then love and peace and those things end up at the 500 range, and above that would be the total unity, the Christ consciousness. You're unifying with the whole and seeing that, oh, just like me, that person is a human being. Just like me, that person is a child of God. And just like me, that person, his or her state of life is just a temporary experience, right? We never stay in one place very long. So I know that this is such a part of our teaching. Dr. Holmes said, a consciousness of God releases the greatest power of all. A consciousness of God. And by the way, willingness shows up on the chart. I forget where I had willingness, but willingness is about halfway up. I want to say 3 or 350 there. They had willingness. You're willing to consider, there must be a bigger picture. So when the Course in Miracles said a tiny space, it only takes a tiny space of willingness. I take joy in knowing that and in receiving that and aligning myself to those truths. So what I find really helpful is the way this information will now be refreshed in my mind, and then when I have any encounter where I see I have had a bit of a judgment, I'm judging only an appearance, and I can still choose to stay open, and in that just choosing to stay open, I begin to rise. Elie Wiesel, the amazing man who was a Holocaust survivor. He won the Nobel Prize in 1986 as the world's leading spokesman on the Holocaust. He lost most of his family members, not all, but most. He was in a work camp and was released and survived. And he was very wise and has written many great things I stumble on from time to time. But I want to read you this quote because I think it sums up the message today quite beautifully. Life did not begin at my birth. Others have been here before me, and I walk in their footsteps. The books I have read were composed by generations of fathers and sons and mothers and daughters and teachers and disciples. I am the sum total of their experiences, and so are you. We are the sum total of every experience that has ever unfolded on this planet before we were here. And there is more. But the most thrilling part about that graph, and you don't need to put it back up, the most thrilling part about that graph is the end of this story from David Hawkins. They suggest that if a single one of us would be vibrating at a midpoint, let's say around 300, just a little bit above courage, you're still a ways from love and peace and joy. We're vibrating at, willingness is 300. That's where I wrote that. So you're just showing a tiny space of willingness to see this in a new way. One person vibrating at 300 counterbalances the vibration of 90,000 other people. Should you be vibrating at the level of love? You know, you've just found that space of pure love in your being, and now you're out and about in the world radiating God's love. One person vibrating at 500 at the level of love counterbalances 750,000 people vibrating below 200. And of course, they estimate that those who can vibrate even briefly at the level of the Christ consciousness would counterbalance 17 million other lives. We are never healed alone. There's a passage in the Course of Miracles that I have shared in this room before. When you sit and meditate for 1 minute, 1,000 lives are changed. I love remembering that I'm not alone on this journey, and I love knowing that I can't fix all the ails in the world, but I can pray, and I can know, and I can take a stand and choose where I want to be, what level of vibration, and I know that my spiritual practice enhances that. So do you, just do you for now, and know that we are making a difference to make the world a better place. And that's what I wanted to say today. So take a nice, deep, cleansing breath. Oh, that was a lot of release. It's good not to hold it inside. It's good to just breathe, because that breath is the gift of life itself. Spirit, the creator of each and every being, has kissed us into being. So I feel the love of God within me, and I know it is the presence of the infinite wisdom of all the universe, that it is right here, right now, in this exact moment, in this place where we are individually on our own journey, looking out at the horizon that is the edge of our life for now. I feel the love of God within me, and I know that it is that activity of life. I know it is a vibration that is whatever that number 500 might mean. It is that, and it is more. For it is the pureness of the truth of our being. It is the way that we find heaven on earth, because we become that meeting place in our humanity. As we stand on this planet, we reach in that vertical way and we become the center of the cross. We become the intersecting point of all of life between heaven and earth. And so there is something incredible and miraculous about the way that we are made in the image and the likeness of Spirit itself. The love of the Father, the love of the Mother, that love that comes together and has created this universe that sustains and supports perpetually all of life. I feel that within me, and it is big. It is so big that it reminds us to count our blessings, to be open to the inspiration, and to be grateful for all that is, so that we too can be big for God. Grateful we are to know that powerful words of prayer have an impact on our being, that there is something in the cells of our body that respond to these powerful words. And so anything that appears as an ailment, as a physical imperfection, is in this moment restored to its wholeness. For the fullness of God's light illuminates the divinity within us. And the DNA of God within our bodies responds. So we are healed in this day, and that healing ripples out, and it impacts the lives of our loved ones. It touches every relationship in our lives, from people we know here in the community to our neighbors, to the people in this planet that we've never met and we never will meet. We realize that we are not here alone, that we have been woven together in this glorious web of life, and that it only takes the tiniest moment of willingness on our part to rise, to ascend, to expand, and to open, and to allow the will of God to be expressed on this earth through us. So I say thank you, God. Thank you, life. Thank you, infinite Spirit, for our ability to renew our commitment, our love, our devotion to spiritual ideas, and the ascension of our minds so that they might merge with the mind of God. In deep gratitude, heartfelt gratitude, I simply release this prayer. I allow it to be, and together we say, and so it is. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Bradfords, as always. That lifts us. So I'm going to tell you a quick humorous thing. So I'm taking a class called Minister's Counselor right now. One of the assignments is you have to come to class prepared to work on some stuff of your own. And that's incorporated. So I had a list, because obviously there's a list. And I said to Karen, so you know me better than anybody else, Reverend Karen. What would you suggest out of my list that I pick? And she goes, well, do I see your list? I said, no, just, you know, you got a list too. And based on what she started the talk with, I sat back there laughing because her response was, perhaps your almost compulsive need to overproduce. So the first part of the talk, I was laughing, going, perhaps my compulsive need to overproduce. But I will tell you, I'm doing pretty well with that these days. But it made me laugh. Compulsive need to overproduce. Anyway, sorry about that. Yeah. It could have been so much less kind, but she's a very kind woman. Anyway, so now it is time for our giving and receiving, and we have contribution boxes in the back on the way into Papke Hall, or one out in the bookstore area, and feel free to overproduce. That's right, almost compulsively. So if you'll do the joyful giving affirmation with me. I live in a consciousness of good. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. And so just think about your gift and the energetic part of Reverend Karen's talk. Put that energy into your gift. Whether, like me, I've already given mine because I do it on an auto contribute, but still, put that energy of that loving divine and know what a dramatic difference you make by shifting that energy. Take it away, Bradford.
That's right, that's right, that's all. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Sing that with me. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. I ain't thinking about my problems. I'm living now. I'm living now. And I ain't gonna worry about the future. I'm living now. I'm living now. So put your hands up if you feel like having a good time. Put your hands up if you're sharing love with all. Raise your cup if you're hopeful for tomorrow. Put your hands up if you're ready to have some fun. Now sing it. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. One more time. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Woo!
So please join us in Papke Hall for Dining with the Dudes. And if you will repeat after me, I consciously choose to align my energy with the infinite love of the divine, knowing that my choice impacts everyone. And so it is.